Welcome to the Ringer Fantasy Football Show. My name is Danny Heifetz, and I am joined by Danny Kelly, Craig Horlbeck, and the Ringer head of content and tortured Jets fan, Sean Fantasy, is here with us today. Sean, welcome to the show.
Wow. Thank you so much, guys. So happy to be here. It's honestly disorienting hearing the intro music at 1x speed because I listen to you guys at 2x all the time. And I feel
you're like
way off
Austin
my
Gale.
game.
I have that same thing. And then when we start talking, we just sound drunk at 1x speed.
You do right now. Are you not drunk right now, Danny?
It's almost happy hour time here on the West Coast. Yeah.
DK stopped drinking for the show when he had a kid, so I'm just the only one who drinks before the show now. But no, so today it is Power Hour, and we power rank something. And today we're going to be power ranking the next superstars in the NFL. But first, there was just too much news today, so we're just going to go through all the news, and we just dragged Sean here for a little fan therapy. Just because, Sean, Devonte Adams traded to the New York Jets. Jets get Devonte Adams, and they pay his salary. Raiders get a conditional third-round pick. Devonte, if he's on the Jets roster for the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl, it becomes the second-round pick. Sean, what was where were you, and what was your first reaction when you saw that Devonte Adams was on the Jets?
I was getting my 3-year-old daughter dressed to go to preschool, and I saw the trade, and I thought, what a pathetic move by a pathetic franchise. What a sad state of affairs this is by the worst-run organization in professional sports, that they waited until they were 2-4, and they now need to go 9-2 effectively to make the playoffs after not making the playoffs for 13 consecutive years. And Woody Johnson is incompetent, and I hate everything. That's how I felt.
You know when you're like, if you go out on a weeknight and you end up having more drinks than you thought, and you're kind of drunk, and it's like a Wednesday, and you're like, it's 11 p.m. and you're like, what's one more shot? I'm already having fun. What's one more shot of whiskey? I feel like that's what the Jets did. Sean, you got to be all in on this. I really think so. This is great. Who cares? Bring in Aaron Rodgers' best friend. Why not?
Nothing to lose.
Yeah, sure.
Take one more shot. You've already had 5.
Definitely. Can we get T.O. out of retirement too? Who else can we bring onto this team? Why not? If we're just taking chances here. No, this is a joke. Maybe it'll be fine and they'll win 9 or 10 games, but this is a pathetic last-ditch effort from an organization that has not known what they are doing for 15 consecutive years, and I feel horrible about it.
I think it's tough because I part of me actually thinks that I want to say it is a good idea, but I think it makes sense. I can follow the logic because there's an element of it that it's Breaking Bad, like no half measures, Walter. You know what I mean? Like you might as well go all in on this Aaron Rodgers thing instead of pulling the plug. But also Breaking Bad is very much about going down the wrong path and being like way too deep in the whole time. So I don't know if that's the best metaphor. But I mean, I think Adams is good, but I agree that it's crazy. Just Woody Johnson doing this 5 weeks in, is that the part that bothers you the most, or is it just? Does it bother you that you've ceded control to Aaron Rodgers, or does it bother you that it took this long to actually make these decisions?
It's a really good question. I mean, I want to hear what you guys think about the move in general and kind of like if it actually could turn their fortunes. But certainly wide receiver connection with the quarterback has been an issue with the team. We just watched a game yesterday where Mike Williams ran the wrong route and then fell down on the ground for the second consecutive game and had a ball intercepted to close out the fourth quarter. That's not good. If you put Devonte Adams in that position, maybe they win that game. Maybe they win the game the week before. If he's there 3 weeks ago, maybe they win that Broncos game, and all of a sudden you're a team that's sitting at 4-2 or maybe even 5-1, and things feel a lot different. But the run defense has been mediocre to bad. The running game has been mediocre to bad. Tyron Smith looks like he's 85 years old. Morgan Moses has already missed 2 weeks due to injury, and he's 34 years old and not getting any younger. And this is an administration on its last legs that's already fired its first head coach this season. Let's just game it out for a second. Let's say, for the sake of conversation, they do turn it around and they do go 9-2. And the Jets finish with an 11-6 record, and they finish second in the AFC East, and they get a wild card spot. And they play in the wild card round, and they lose to a superior team. Then what happens? Like, Aaron Rodgers is 41, and Devonte Adams is 32, and Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner and Breece Hall need contract extensions, and the Jets have no quarterback or coach of the future? I honestly don't know what the move here is. If this was week 2 or week 3, I would have said, sure, fire Salah, bring in Devonte Adams, try to shore up, find another run-stuffing DT, and then talk to me. But on the brink of a lost season. It just feels like a rich guy being like, fuck it, I'll try one more time, and then I'm not going to have to try for another 5 years because we're going to draft a QB and be in a developmental phase like we have been for the last 20 years. So I feel like this is really quite sad, and I'm excited to watch Devonte Adams catch touchdowns, but otherwise it feels like a mistake.
Yeah. DK, do you think Devonte Adams is still like an elite receiver?
I think maybe elite might be a little strong, but he's still very good. Yes. And especially with a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, where, they can isolate him. And we've talked about this the whole season. The offense runs it's like in fits and starts when Aaron Rodgers is playing, because he gets to the line, he changes everything. He lets the clock run down to 1 second every single time. It's a very slow offense, but he's doing all the manipulation at the line of scrimmage. And it really helps to have receivers that are on the same page with him. This is why for like a decade, we've been talking about, he doesn't like playing with rookie receivers. He doesn't like playing with receivers that he doesn't know. He brings Randall Cobb and Alan Lazard wherever he goes, because you have to be on the same page. It's very like, it has to be a perfectly finely tuned machine to work. And
Craig compared it to a car that only Devonte Adams knows how to fix.
Yeah, or he's like a chef in a kitchen who like brings his guys when he starts a new restaurant because he runs a tight ship.
Yeah.
Mike Williams, not only did he screw up that interception, there was also a critical third down where he was supposed to run like a quick slant. He didn't get his head around quick enough. The ball hit him literally in the nuts, and Aaron Rodgers was pissed at him. So I don't think this is not the issue for the Jets. It wasn't like they need another wide receiver. That's the difference. Because they fired their defensive head coordinator, even though the defense wasn't the problem. But part of me, it's funny that Woody Johnson in his interview used a Talladega Nights quote that was like,
"Oh my God,
don't think." Like
you're not a
thinker, you're a driver.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know if you should be promoting the idea of that you're not thinking. He should have used also that quote's not famous from that movie.
Thinking's overrated. Thinking is overrated was exactly what Woody Johnson said.
When that's not even the quote from a movie, it's you're not a thinker, you're a driver. Also, that's not a famous quote from the movie. He really should have said, if you're not first, you're last. I feel like that is what he was going for. And that's the quote everybody knows.
And all they've been is last. They're fifth in AFC East division titles. There's only 4 teams in the AFC East.
Did you guys know that the Jets have 8 consecutive losing seasons? Like, it's often cited that they have gone 13 years without making the playoffs, but they are nearing the all-time record they're going to be among the top 10 all-time losingest consecutive franchises if they lose again this year. I think they'd be tied for 7th overall with 9 straight seasons without a winning season. That's fucking insane in the age of parity. How are they doing? This should be studied how incompetent they are.
Well, that's why they're doing this. They're desperate to not be in that like talking point. Literally, they just don't want that talking point to happen.
I really do think that is so much of it. I think that so much of it. It's. I think we forget with athletes and with billionaires and all these people that like just as much as winning, nobody wants to be publicly humiliated. And I really do think the ambassador thing is a huge part of what just happened. With the last 7 days, Robert Saleh, Eric Mangini called this before the game even happened, that like if Robert Saleh lost that London game in front of, like, I live in DC, my fiance is in this international relations field.
Flex.
Ambassador flex. But like ambassadors do need to be called ambassador. They need to be announced into a room when they enter. They need invitations and stuff. Like when Woody Johnson goes back to England and sits in that suite in London and his team sucks. And his brother, Fredo Corleone, just ruined the team when he left, and he comes back and he's like, let me get this straight. The White Sox are the worst team in the history of baseball, and they were in the playoffs like 3 years ago, and we haven't made the playoffs in 13 years, and we're in New York. I do think that it has been a 7-day tilt where between firing Saleh, which I don't know what that was supposed to accomplish, and I swear to God they win the game if Saleh kept the coach. I know that's an impossible thing to say, but I don't know. Sean, what do you... Are you net? Are you upset right now? Because I feel like on one hand, the Jets are pathetic. And on the other hand, you do have Aaron Rodgers and Devonte Adams, the Mets and the Yankees. I know you're not a Yankees fan, but Mets are but they're both in the championship series in baseball. Mm-hmm. The Knicks are about to have the most exciting season in my entire life. And then the Liberty in the WNBA finals. So like, are you happy as a person, or are you sad?
I mean, I've built this like abandoned tower of pain that's part of my podcast persona that is like, woe is me, the Jets, right? So I did this to myself, and I have let Bill Simmons continue to add floors to this tower that I've built and make it feel worse and worse every year. So there's a performative aspect to this that I can't deny. But when you watch a game like last night's game, how could you be happy? Like, it's not just that they lose in tremendously embarrassing fashion in close games. I think they've now lost 3 consecutive games by a total margin of 7 points. That's embarrassing. They're a sad franchise. So set aside the Mets thing, because whatever's happening with the Mets is magical. It almost never happens in sports for teams that I root for, and I'm very excited about it. I'm not like utterly depressed. I have an incredible life. Like, if you knew how fun my life is relative to where it was 20 years ago, it's going great. Football, though, is something I genuinely love and watch every Sunday religiously and have since I was 7 years old. And so to not be able to have personal happiness inside something that I genuinely enjoy is just tremendously frustrating. And to know that, you pointed out that Woody Johnson was the ambassador to England during Trump's presidency. This wasn't like 9 weeks ago. This was 4 years ago.
There's an election coming up right now.
Christopher Johnson did screw everything up when he was running the team for those years, but like the guy has had 4 full years to get this back on track, and it has not happened. So I'm kind of done with that excuse. Bill Belichick said it on the Manning cast last night. Ready, fire, aim has always been the way that he has managed the team. We see, since he bought the team from Leon Hess, that he's just not well suited to this work. The NFL has been riddled with incompetent owners over that period of time, but he really is in the bottom quartile, if not in the bottom 5, in terms of lack of success. So now we see, like, we're at the end of this era where they tried to reset with Joe Douglas, Robert Saleh, and Zach Wilson. It didn't work. They're doing this last-ditch thing. It's not going to work. In all likelihood, Joe Douglas is going to get fired with like a 35-67 career record as the general manager of the Jets, which is insane that he has gotten this long of a run and still hasn't built an offensive line. And so as I look at like another rebuild in my mid-40s, it's all starting to hit me, guys.
That's why we have this one beautiful season with Devonte Adams, Aaron Rodgers, and Garrett Wilson to win the Super Bowl.
And it's like 2 33-year-old tackles, a 31-year-old receiver, to the oldest active player in the NFL. I remember, Sean, you came on the show a few years ago. I believe it was either before or after the Jets had drafted Zach Wilson. It was right after awful 2020 season. And you asked DK, what should I do? You told a story about you were like screaming at the Jets, or maybe Zach Wilson mid-2021 season. And your wife was like, do you not find this like unbecoming that you're like 39 and you're just screaming at the television because this 21-year-old kid's bad at football? And you were like, DK, what should I do with myself? What do I do? And DK, you were like, nihilism. Just believe in nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, DK, are you still that? Should he still believe it in nothing?
Yeah. Big time. It's a discipline, really. You have to train yourself and hone that nihilistic discipline.
I gotta tell you, it feels phenomenal.
Yeah, when you don't set an expectation, you don't
get
have
sad
any when something happens. And I gotta tell you, I feel phenomenal.
Sean, don't lie though. Next Sunday against the Steelers, you are going to be excited to watch Aaron Rodgers throw a football to Devonte Adams.
Yeah, I'm going to sit right next to you in the Spotify screening room watching the game. I think it's hard to get to that place, and frankly, as 3 guys who have all experienced a Super Bowl title in the last 20 years, like, I'm just not interested in your opinion. Like, I really don't care. Like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. You cannot understand where I'm coming from. The Jets have not won a title since 1969, so let that sink in.
Before the moon landing, allegedly, per Aaron Rodgers. The other one, I also just, while we're here, I want to talk about, it's so funny to me. I don't know if this has ever happened where there's a Monday Night Football game, Bills Jets, that the winner was going to leave with the division title. And then the Jets add Devonte Adams. And like an hour later, 2 hours later, the Bills trade for Amari Cooper from the Browns. And I want to get to Deacon in a second, but Sean, did that even change how you felt about the Jets and the Adams trade, or did you change how you feel about the Bills or anything with the Bills adding Cooper?
What was the compensation in that trade?
So the Browns got a 3rd rounder in 2025 and a 7th in 2026, and the Bills get Cooper and a 6th in 2025. Really, it's really Amari Cooper for a 3rd round.
More or less the same then for this.
So
the
honestly,
same compensation.
Except the Jets are paying Devontae's full salary, which is like $10 million, right? And Amari's much cheaper.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I saw some stats this morning that Amari Cooper has been the worst graded receiver in the NFL through the first 6 games. Is that accurate?
Well,
on
he's
PFF.
got the worst attorneys in the world, though. Amari
Yeah.
Cooper.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, I think
He also has the most uncatchable passes of any receiver by far.
Good point. His drops are not the same as Alan Lazard's drops, where the ball is being dumped directly into his hands and he can't seem to hold on. I think the Bills getting stronger is not good. It's pretty clear that
Bad.
the Bills, who have won 4 consecutive division titles and seem to be on their way to a 5th, are only, even if it's just 5%, they are more disciplined than the Jets, and so adding more talent around Josh Allen is not great. And I don't know, Devonte Adams, it's going to be sick when he's playing left tackle and DT and running from the X position. It's going to be really exciting.
It's funny how quickly the Bills were like, yeah, we need a wide receiver. Like, it's funny that the Chiefs traded away Tyreek Hill and won 2 Super Bowls, and the Bills played 6 games and are like, I don't know if we can do this, actually. We can't do it with Khalil Shakir.
I mean, they really didn't look very good. Like, they really should have lost to the Jets last night.
Yeah.
There's really...
Wake-up call.
Yeah.
DK, do you think it's the Bills adding Cooper is more about just, they've been banged up. Curtis Samuel had been dealing with turf toe. Khalil Shakir is banged up, but I've been wondering if it's really just Keon Coleman cannot catch and kind of doesn't seem like he's built for the Super Bowl run.
I don't know if that's it alone, but yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like if Mac Hollins is like a big part of your offense, you probably should like figure out a way to get more talent infused in there. I think Amari Cooper is the perfect like addition to this offense. Basically, he's a really good route runner. He can get open. He can separate. He's been a little inconsistent over the years with his hands, but like he's a very reliable receiver. He's proven it. He's done it. And he's an outside guy that can like come in and like hit the ground running from day one. And Khalil Shakir is not a number 1. He's like a good role playing number 2 slot guy. Keon Coleman, I think, has a future in the league, but he's right now basically like the only thing they do is like throw like 50-50 balls to him, and he hasn't really been catching that many of them.
They're
and
like
so
10-90 balls.
I think, yeah, they just needed an infusion of talent and skill in this offense. And I think this is going to be perfect for them because, they tried to do it. I think they thought maybe like Dalton Kincaid could be their number 1. It hasn't really panned out for them. He's like a solid, like, complimentary player, but he's not like a true number 1 type of guy. So having a guy that can like move the chains, create some big plays, and do it pretty cheaply for them, I think it's perfect. Plus he's not Stephon Diggs, who like Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs don't have a great relationship, I don't think, right now. So
I also learned Amari Cooper was born on June 17th, 1994, the O.J. Simpson car chase day that there was a 30 for 30 about, which I don't know what to make of that, but that's the day he came in.
Is that right?
World. Okay. That means something to you?
I don't know. I just thought that was remarkable. But
do you think the car chase put his mother into labor? She got so excited. She was like, what is happening? And then water broke. Yeah, probably. Could have been that Knicks playoff game that was happening at the same time, though. That was an epic moment. Where was Amari Cooper born?
Heartbroken. Well, maybe she was just heartbroken. That was it Jack Nicklaus's last U.S. Open?
Yeah, it was a special day. Great documentary about that in 30 for 30. Highly recommend. Directed by Brett Morgan.
Nice. Amari Cooper was born in Miami, Florida. So
okay, probably not.
Not a Knicks fan.
While we are just doing a little fan therapy here, Sean, if you don't mind sticking around, I mean, Craig, I would like to ask you about Mike Tomlin's very weird coach speak implying that Russell Wilson will start over Justin Fields this week and going forward.
Yeah, I don't know why the Steelers, or I guess Mike Tomlin, is treating Justin Fields like he was Cooper Rush this whole time. And like Russell Wilson is Dak Prescott. Tomlin was asked today about, the Steelers are 28th in passing yards. What do you think about that? And he's like, I'm not worried about statistics. Stats are for losers. And I'm like, well, we're 4-2, man. And we're 4-1 on the road. And Fields has 2 turnovers in 6 games. And we just had our biggest win of the season. And I would argue that the reason why the Steelers have been able to stay afloat this season, because the offensive line has been in shambles. The only reason why the Steelers have been able to stay afloat is because of Justin Fields' mobility. It's like the only thing that has kept the Steelers in this game. The Steelers are like second to last in pass blocking this year. It's been a disaster. And we're going to replace him with the guy who's 35 years old, coming off a calf injury, who is no longer mobile, who has been sacked more than any other quarterback in the last 2 years after a big win. That's the plan. I don't understand it.
Doesn't sound like
Nathan for you.
Doesn't sound like you're subscribing to nihilism, Craig.
Not yet. Those 9-8 seasons every single year are kind of keeping me alive, I guess. I also just don't know, like, if you bring in Russ now and Russ sucks, you go back to Fields? I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know why you just ride this out.
He's also, speaking of ride, he had the Broncos Country Let's Ride. He's unveiling his new slogan
Is he
when
really?
gets the start, and I believe it's going to be like go for the seventh ring in Steelers history. But he has a new slogan that Russell.
Wait,
Wilson
are you
will
being
unveil.
serious, or is that
Yes,
a bit?
I've heard this. I've heard that
Oh
this
my
is
God.
happening. That he has a slogan that he will unveil when he starts.
Is it possible that this is an okie doke by the Steelers, that they're actually going to start Fields and that they're trying to throw the Jets off the scent? Because like just coming off of the end of that Jets-Bills game where Josh Allen just runs right past Michael Clemens for the final first down of the game, which was just a deeply sad metaphor for everything. Obviously mobile quarterbacks are a challenge for teams, especially teams that struggle against the run, especially teams that have a lot of injuries in their linebacking core and their secondary like the Jets. Isn't Fields a way more obvious choice to play against the Jets?
I think he's the more obvious choice to play against anybody right now.
I mean, I just can't. If Steelers fans watch Russell Wilson lose to the Jets, I think that there will be a revolt. And so I don't really understand it at all. I don't know what the hell Tomlin's doing, but I think maybe he believes in nothing because he'll know he'll go 9-8 no matter what. So maybe
We actually, and looking at the schedule, it is a guarantee. It is a certified certainty that we will go 9-8. We will exactly go 9-8 this year. I'm predicting that.
Maybe he
no
wants
matter who's the quarterback.
Maybe give the easy wins to Fields and the hard games to Russell Wilson, so that when Russell Wilson loses, he takes the L's, and then everyone loves Fields. They keep.
I think Tomlin is getting too far away from 500. He's getting nervous. He can't be 5-2.
Out of his comfort zone.
He doesn't like it. He can't be 5-2.
Do you think who do you think will win on Sunday, Craig? Like in your heart of hearts, will the Jets win or the Steelers?
Who's starting?
It's going to be Russell Wilson versus Aaron Rodgers.
Wilson.
I think the Jets will win that game.
DK, what do you think?
I agree. I think here's the problem. I think with Wilson, the sacks are going to be just debilitating for the offense. They don't have a good run game. Najee Harris, outside of like that one really good run last Sunday, has been very not dynamic, not breaking a lot of tackles, not creating out of structure. And like you said, I think that play by Josh Allen where he got the game sealing first down is like a great microcosm for like why Justin Fields actually works for the Steelers. It's like he can drop back. If his read isn't there, he can take off running and he can beat a defensive end to the edge. I think there was a touchdown play, I think from last week or the week before, where he just outran a defender and a defensive end and just beat him to the corner and scored a touchdown. And I'm like, there's like very few quarterbacks right now that can do that. And even if he's not like the best passer in the world, like that gives the Steelers a better chance to win. So I don't know. I just feel like he's going to get sacked like 6 times and then Steelers are going to lose. And they're going to be like, everyone's going to be like, why did we do this again? I forgot. Why did we switch?
Here's the thing though. My counter would be, you know who else is going to get sacked and can't move? Aaron Rodgers. He's been limping around for like 3 weeks. He's getting the crap kicked out of him.
He's getting clobbered.
Clobbered. And now it's going to be TJ Watt going against, as Sean said, ancient Tyrone Smith. And I have to say, the nihilist, if you don't like the Jets, the funniest possible outcome would be they trade for Devonte Adams and then TJ Watt plants Rodgers into the turf and then he's out for the season. And then now it's Tyrod Taylor and Devonte Adams who don't have any history whatsoever.
It's what we deserve. I got to be honest. Just waiting this long, signing a bunch of 30-somethings past their prime, it's what they deserve. DH, I have a quick question for you, though, before I go. So now that you've planted roots in Washington, D.C., and the Giants are maybe an even bigger embarrassment than the Jets, are you ready to throw in with Jaden Daniels and just fully get behind the Commanders long term?
No, that's honestly an insulting question. I feel like that was almost like a shot at my integrity. But I will say the Giants and Jets are tied for the worst record in the NFL over the last 7 years. They're equally awful.
Wow.
And I think what's weird, it's funny.
What's up with New York?
There are times where I've wondered if I like the Giants less since I started doing this professionally. And I have a very maternal Giants family. My grandmother, my mom, like it just we're psychopaths. My mom stands by the second panel of the refrigerator on defense, and like we're crazy people. And I've wondered if I care.
And you
less.
do the X. You do the just tell people
I
what
did
you
that
do
at
by the
Bill's
field
house.
Goal. Yeah.
So when we watched the Giants game at Bill Simmons' house, I thought it would be normal. It would be okay to be like a weird sports fan. And then I went up and I did an X. The Giants were playing the Ravens, and my family we do an X in front of the TV. In front of important field
with
goals.
His little tootsie, with his little toe.
I did a little toe, and then I sat back down, and everyone was staring at me. And Bill was like, "What the fuck was that?"
What?
And I was like, "I don't know,
stroke?
superstitious."
What is going on?
Like, You're not no one's super. Everyone's just staring at me. And you know what happened? Justin Tucker missed the goddamn kick. Hasn't been the same ever since. That's all I'm saying.
And, and you know what? The Giants
Was that
found
the
to win
beginning of the
Super
end
Bowl
for
that
Tucker?
year. Yeah.
He has not been the same ever since. But all that's to say, I've wondered if the Giants have. I care less. And then I realized actually they've been the worst team in the entire league since I started covering the league. And it's weird because the Giants and Washington have no relationship because they're bad too. So I almost like weirdly root for them because I just don't think of the Giants as being in the hunt. I'd almost rather them lose and get a top 5 pick. But it's weird that Washington now is going to be better than the Eagles and Dallas.
Well, you've got those 2 horseshoe out of your ass Super Bowls to hang on to in the meantime. I don't know. Commanders, I look at a team like that, pathetic franchise for decades. And within 6 weeks, I'm like, holy shit, the future is bright. It could happen to me. It will keep me on the line watching this godforsaken sport for another 40 years.
That is actually, as much as we joke about the nihilism, I actually go the other way. The word never is thrown around a lot in sports, but then you look around at like Washington. You know what? Dan Snyder was like the youngest bad owner in sports. And like he was just ixnayed, and the speed at which it went from Snyder will never sell to Washington is the coolest story in the entire conference. Keep the spark alive, Sean. Keep the hope.
We should have had Sean come in to frame like Devonte Adams did behind Rodgers on that.
Oh yeah.
Damn, we should have done that.
Fun fact, Craig, I'm actually in your house right now, so I'll be showing up right behind you momentarily.
Awesome. Sean, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys, and thanks for using my pain for content, as always. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you taught us well.
Bye, guys.
Ringer Fantasy Football Show. We're going to do a little power hour. All right. So we're going to be power ranking the next superstars in the NFL. And honestly, we had a whole argument about what does that actually mean? What is a superstar? We had a 20-minute argument about this. We're like, we're going to figure it out on the show. Craig, can you remind us what is a superstar? We didn't
I think
settle this.
Yeah, I think there's three. We kind of landed on that. There's three qualifying factors, right? It's you need to be actually good at football.
Mhm.
For our show's purposes, you need to be good at fantasy football. And then you need to have like that X factor, right? You need to have the intangible, that superstar quality to you on the field, off the field, household name quality. So it's
A
kind
certain je ne sais quoi.
of a je ne sais quoi.
Je ne sais quoi.
Yeah.
Oh, what does that mean? I've been.
It
meaning to
means
ask
I
people
don't.
for 10
It means
years.
I don't know what.
I don't know what.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, someone's explained it to me before.
Yeah.
So can we go? We
were going to do the je ne sais quoi power rankings, but
Yeah.
we figured it wouldn't play.
we didn't know what to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the list I made of the current superstars, and we put it together, and then I added some after we agreed on stuff.
The
that you
current guys who are
didn't want. Yeah.
already considered
Yeah.
A-list superstars. Yeah.
Heifetz
basically guys,
editorialized our list.
guys
Okay,
that
cool.
guys that were superstars entering this season.
Yeah.
And so 20 we agreed on 20. I added 25. So so quarterback, it's Patrick. No, I made it to 25. I didn't add.
Oh,
25.
okay. Got it.
Quarterback, the superstars are Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, obviously, Joe Burrow, CJ Stroud, Aaron Rodgers. I don't think that's very controversial. We like cut out. I think the line is like Jalen Hurts. We're like, if he had won the Super Bowl, he'd probably be a superstar. Dak, I feel like is too
His own team, his own fans don't even like him.
Yeah, his
so.
fans are sick of him. He's not a superstar. Running back, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, and then I think Alvin Kamara is right on the edge.
I think Kamara.
But I think he is.
Yeah.
Receivers, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, Devonte Adams, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel. I think those were guys entering the league, and some of them are teeting toward getting out. And then tight end Travis Kelce, and I think right on the brink of the 20th guy would be George Kittle. I don't know. Part of me is like, part of me is like, he's really famous. Like, he's on the Netflix receiver show.
I think Kittle counts. Yeah.
He's a tight end who got on a
He's
receiver
pretty-
show.
He's like lifetime achievement.
Yeah.
He's also like more interesting and kind of more famous off the field than a lot of the receivers we named.
Yes.
You
And
know?
then so that's 20. And then without your permission, I actually kind of figured out what if we just added out all the other positions too? In the entirety of defense, I think it's just Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Micah Parsons. I don't think there's any safeties that have the pizzazz of like Ed Reed or Troy Polamalu. There's no cornerbacks as big as Darrell Revis, and even then he wasn't like a star. There's no like Patrick Surtain is not on this list. And certainly no linebackers. And then honestly, Chris Jones, my only other one I wanted to throw out, I know he's retired. I don't care. I think Jason Kelce is the 25th guy. I think Jason Kelce, I don't care that he doesn't play. Like he's
Let's put Eli Manning on this list too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
right.
Kelsey's in 5 commercials every game.
So, same
What-
with Eli. That's what I'm saying.
What about Justin Tucker?
No.
Okay.
No, he's
Lost
not
it.
even good.
He's
anymore.
lost it. He's lost
Yeah.
his mojo.
All right.
Ever
just
since I
asking
did the
questions.
X.
You're right. Devonte
Never been the
Adams
same.
been great this year.
So that's like an even 25 guys. And like, I don't know, is Chris Jones a star for the Chiefs?
Yeah.
He's a
Superstar.
star, but I don't know if he's A-list famous.
I as insulting as it is, I
His
actually
name's
think
Chris
Jason.
Jones. Hurts.
Yeah, I know. Jason Kelsey's more of a superstar than Chris Jones, and
Oh my God.
the fame overcomes the fact that he isn't actually playing. So anyway, we kind of were thinking like, all right, some of these guys are teetering off this list. We're not going to pull anyone off right now, but Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, looking at these names, and we're like Kamara, and we're like, all right, who are the next people on this list? And we're just going to power rank
Next gen.
the next gen.
Next gen stats.
Next gen stars.
I wish.
Next gen stars.
Fuck.
Damn it, DK.
Should we
that's good.
title the episode that?
DK, you got to join the pre-call meetings, all right?
Dude, holy
Look,
shit.
I just show up and I vibe out. All right.
thought
That's
of
all
that
I do
earlier.
here.
Anyway,
Yeah,
so we're
DK's
gonna-
like old Jack Nicholson. He's like, I'll show up, send me the script. I'm not doing a single rehearsal, and I need to golf for 9 holes before I.
yeah, it's like Marlon Brando and The Godfather. We just write his lines and they're on a chest.
Never publish my writer. I don't want that to leak to the public at all.
We're not allowed to record until 1 because DK's got to fit in 18.
Yeah.
He secretly loves golf.
Yeah, he loves golf.
This
DK,
is all a
yes.
bit.
I'm throwing you off my scent. Yeah.
He's a 3 handicap.
It's like the weather, man. Curb. All right, so we're gonna do this power hour style, and if you don't know, every 2 minutes you're gonna hear this sound.
Great song.
Love that song.
Unreal song, and we're gonna rank these, and we're gonna every 2 minutes, and we're just gonna go through the top 9, and we couldn't agree on 12, so we're gonna argue about the final 2 or 3 spots at the end. But we're gonna go through the 9-ish that we kind of agreed on mostly,
Yeah.
starting with the easy ones. So again, number one, the next generation of superstars in the NFL. Number one, obviously, Jaden Daniels, the quarterback for Washington.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like I think for somebody who's only been in the league for 6 weeks, he's kind of already checking all three of those boxes of good in fantasy, good in real life, and has that superstar quality. Because it's not just that he's good and that he's making a splash. Because like there are other guys who have come into the league who have been good. Justin Herbert came in, was good. He took Mahomes to OT in his first start. But Jaden Daniels has the intangibles. Like Jaden Daniels feels like a star. He's cool, Herbert.
He's like
is
smiling
really, really
on the
good.
sideline. Yeah.
Yes, but Herbert doesn't feel like a star. He's not cool. You can play like a star, but you need to also be a star. And I do think that Jaden Daniels has that. I think it also is factored in that it's like Washington, which we were just talking about with Sean. Like they really needed him. He's in Washington, D.C. The team has been a disaster for so long. Again, it feels different than like Justin Herbert on the Chargers. The fact that the city of Washington has this guy now, and he's so cool, calm, collected. They're so good. I think he's already hit that superstar status or is headed there very quickly.
He also already has a signature play where he hit Terry McLaurin on that go ball down the sideline, got absolutely lit up, like game clinching play.
On Monday Night Football.
On national TV. Yeah, it's like all the stars have aligned for him to like make this entrance, and like it's like an actor who stars in like a really huge film and everyone is immediately like, this guy stole the show. This guy stole every scene he was in.
Yeah.
That's kind of like Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, it's like Margot Robbie in Wolf of Wall Street. Everybody was like, who's that? Wow.
Yeah.
Damn, Jaden Daniels is Margot Robbie. Maybe we could get his Pro Football Reference. We could get that as a nickname for Jaden Daniels, just Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
So I think with Jaden, the question, I guess, is you feel confident that he's here to stay, right? Like this isn't a flash in the pan. This is like repeatable going forward. This isn't just like some random weird.
Barring injuries, yes.
Yeah.
Like Robert Griffin III happened. Like
sure,
barring injuries, I don't know. I feel 100%. Next up, again, the next generation of NFL superstars. While we're here, Caleb Williams, quarterback for the Bears. These are the first two. They're obvious, but I think that the similarity they have in common is that Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams, they both resuscitated franchises that I don't know if there were two franchises that could have been more grateful to see a great quarterback than Washington and Chicago, because Washington just was so thirsty for anything. But then Chicago and Caleb, it's the third biggest city in America. The Chicago metropolitan area has 10 million people. The Bears have never had a good quarterback, like ever. Like the best quarterback in the history of the Bears is Jim McMahon. Jim McMahon said when Fields was drafted, Chicago is the place quarterbacks go to die. Like that was the best quarterback, said that nobody can succeed in Chicago. And Caleb's doing it. And there's a level of belovedness that both these guys have. That's incredible. And you know what? They're playing in 2 weeks. They already flexed it out of 1 p.m. into 4:25 p.m. Eastern because they were like, we need people to watch this. I think this is like an epic rivalry.
He's already breaking like Bears rookie records for like passing touchdowns. I think he already has the record for rookie passing touchdowns. It's been like 6 games.
And
Bears have never had a 4,000-yard passer ever.
Yeah.
There's like 12.
And checking the obvious box, Caleb has something to him,
Oh
like,
yeah.
He is cool. He's really emotional. He's like yelling on the field. Off the field, he's super interesting. I mean, the guy's painting his nails. He's wearing trench coats in press game conferences. Like this guy is a superstar.
Yeah, the Mina Kimes rule of like a quarterback has to either believe in God or believe they are a god. Caleb Williams is so firmly in that Aaron Rodgers camp of like, I'm a god. He based this whole game off Aaron Rodgers, but also all the confidence is like Aaron Rodgers confidence.
I really feel like there's a chance if CJ Stroud never big brothered Caleb Williams, maybe Caleb would have never been good. It
Sliding
was
doors
like,
moment.
The second that happened, he's like, all right, I'm fucking done.
Did you see the look on there was like someone grabbed a still image from when that was happening. He was just like mad through his teeth, he's just like trying not to say something bad. Did you guys see the thing where DJ Moore was talking about how Caleb Williams was kind of like big dogging him and like, telling him where to line up and telling him where to go? And DJ Moore, he was like, at first I was like, man, like who you think you're talking to? And then he's like, but actually you just want to see that in a quarterback. You want to see that in a young guy. He's like taking charge. He's like really confident, all that stuff. So
when you show up to prison, you got to fight the biggest guy in prison.
Find the biggest guy and knock him out. Yeah.
No, the key you got to make enough eye contact that you're not afraid, but you can't make too much eye contact that you're like trying to start a fight, It's all about the Goldilocks. But you guys never watched Burn Notice, but like Burn Notice taught me all about what to do in prison. You have no idea. You maligned it. Anyway, all right, next up, number 3, next generation of NFL superstars. Malik Neighbors for the Giants. Dude,
Yeah.
I know he hasn't played in a couple weeks. I want to start here. Malik Neighbors was the last guy out of the tunnel for the Giants in like week 2. Like, the fans, like, they went, like, it took one game for the fans to be like, leak, like 1 week, and a rookie receiver is like, as you pass everybody on the team.
He's got that gravitas. Yeah.
Dexter Lawrence is like the best defender in the entire league. And they're like, give us Malik Neighbors. It took one game.
People are already talking about how he's better than Odell Beckham.
He is better than. Do you know how Odell Beckham had done through his first 5 games? Nothing. He didn't even play the first 5 games.
He had a hamstring injury, right?
That right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't even play in the first 4 or 5 games, and he had one of the most incredible. I think off the top of my head, I don't remember, but it's something like the first 48 games Odell Beckham played, most yards ever, more than like Randy Moss or Jerry Rice. And he had an amazing rookie year, 13, 12 touchdowns. He didn't even play the first month. That's where we are with Malik Neighbors. Neighbors is the first receiver ever with 20 catches and 3 touchdowns in his first 3 games. Like, just to give you a taste. This is pathetic. The Giants haven't had a receiver hit 800 yards in 5 years. Malik Neighbors is on pace to do that in the next 4 weeks, even though he's already missed 2 games.
Yeah, he's really good. I think that coming in, he's number one. He's really young. I think he's 21 years old. He's just like pure explosiveness. Like that's the type of receiver he is. I think most people didn't really expect him to come in and do like the nuanced things, separate, get his feet in bounds, like line up in the right spots. Like I think he's done more really early than anyone expected. And it's really cool to see. And there's like a lot of meat on the bone still with him to figure out all the nuances of route running and expand his route tree and just get better. But he's already doing the little things in addition to being one of the most explosive playmakers in the NFL, from the moment he gets on the field. So, yeah, he's awesome. And it's also he's completely overshadowed Marvin Harrison.
Yeah. I'm sorry to disrespect Tom, but all I'll say is Malik Neighbors had the concussion and then he went to the Travis Scott concert. And all I'm saying is if Malik Neighbors does not become a superstar, I'm going to sue Travis Scott for damages.
No, you got to do that if you're Malik Neighbors. That's real wide receiver 1 energy right there.
Yeah.
That shows that he already is like a dog.
I know. I do kind of love it. Everyone's like, you can't do that. I'm like, no, he can do whatever the fuck he wants.
I agree.
Leak. And you know what? How we decided Malik Neighbors would be elite? He has no case on his phone. Another notch in the belt. We got to remember that for next draft season. Number 4, next generation of NFL superstars. Dude, Nico Collins, receiver for the Texans.
Yeah. I love this guy. He's so cool for so many reasons. On the field, he's a menace. He's so big and strong and fast. He's like Julio Jones with an attitude. I think he has a cool story, late bloomer. He had the 3rd year elite last year, and then this was the 4th year boom. And he obviously got hurt. He's on IR now with the hamstring injury, which sucks. Nico Collins still leads the league in receiving yards, and he's basically missed 2 full games.
That's crazy.
He's the wide receiver 3 in points per game. Yeah, he's awesome. Led the league in first down catches until he got hurt. But what I think takes Nico Collins to the next level is the Stroud connection. Because most elite receivers and famous receivers, you need the QB to go from gold to platinum. Mahomes, Tyreek, Rodgers, Devonte. It's like
Kelsey Mahomes.
It's like the actor director. It's like they're good separately, but together. De Niro and Scorsese. Scorsese and Leo. Sam Jackson and Tarantino. And I think right now, Nico Collins and Stroud are the best 1-2. I think it's Burrow and Chase. Maybe you could argue, but right now T. Higgins is having just as good a season as Jamar Chase. Dak and CD, Tyreek and Tua. Right now, Stroud and Nico Collins are the best duo in the league.
I think you're dead right about the fame thing, but Dak and CD. Now the Cowboys season ended because Dak couldn't get CD the ball. Last week, Dak is unable to get CD the ball, and CD body language freezes him out 2 or 3 times a season at this point.
Yeah, they're like a marriage that's on kind of rocky.
It feels like there's some tension happening right now. Yeah,
but yeah, I think this is a great call. DK, where's Nico in your favorite list of receivers just to watch? Because he's bully ball. He's kind of like AJ Brown.
He's up there, and we've in the group chat during the first couple of weeks of the season. I think every week we're talking about just Nico is so good. He does everything well. He catches the ball really, really well. He plucks the ball away from his frame. He's really strong after the catch. Really explosive down the field. he's basically like, and this pains me to say, he's like what I want DK Metcalf to be, because he does all the little things, but he has like the explosiveness and like the physical attributes that you look for. But he doesn't like make these really backbreaking mistakes. And so, yeah, I love Nico Collins, man. And his story is cool because, like you said, he basically did very little his first 2 seasons in the NFL. It was like he's a role player. He's like big and fast, whatever. But all of a sudden, he's really, really good at football now. And it's just really cool to see him matched up with CJ Stroud.
And the Texans are very early in their identity as a franchise, but 20 years, they've always, the Andre Johnson to DeAndre Hopkins to Nico Collins lineage is pretty cool. Like, I think that is kind of like a thing that they've just always had an elite receiver. Number 5, just the next generation of NFL superstars. Jameson Williams, the receiver for the Lions. I think that after those 4 people, it's a little harder. I think Jameson Williams is on that path. Am I crazy?
This is, I think, a little more like there will be some varying, like, opinions on this.
This is more of a projection.
Yeah. And he's kind of on the Nico train for very different reasons, obviously. But like first 2 seasons, he started out his first season. He was coming off an ACL injury after tearing his ACL his final year in college. And then he had a suspension for gambling that like cut into his second year. And then, even when he got on the field, like his coaches were just like kind of upset with him. He wasn't running the right routes. He did the whole Brandon Ayuk doghouse thing for a while. He finally has kind of like self-actualized, and he is becoming the guy who everyone thought he would be. You remember he was the 12th overall pick, I believe, or 11th. The Lions traded up. Yeah, the Lions traded up for him. Like, this was a supremely talented player coming out of college, and there was real concern after 2 seasons that he was like just a bust.
It
like
was
he was
close
like
there
not
for a second. Like Robert Downey Jr. It was like, is this guy gonna make it?
Craig,
right.
Craig, you're the one who told me that saying that like one great comedian spawns 10,000 bad ones. It's like this one Jameson Williams and Nico Collins turnaround are going to spawn people holding on to like John Dotsons forever.
Yeah. Same with like Josh Allen.
Yeah,
totally.
The amount of Will Levis playing time he's gonna get. Will
awesome.
Levis will have a whole career just people mentioning Josh Allen's name. But no, Jameson Williams. I think Tyreek Hill's 30. I think he's about to be 31. He's not gonna be the fastest player in the league for more than another season or two. There's a certain panache, or is that the word panache, pizzazz that comes with being the fastest player in the NFL. I think that is Jameson Williams.
Yeah, he's got that cachet. He is like, if you get him the ball in space, I think he's the scariest player in the NFL because he can turn on the jets and literally just run away from everyone.
It's also cool because I think the Lions didn't really have a superstar personality or even playing a player with that kind of superstar quality. It's like Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta. All these guys were kind of like gritty, get it done, not spotlight guys. And maybe that's why they're good. But Jameson Williams and like David Montgomery, it's like these grinder Dan Campbell types. And Jameson Williams is kind of not like that at all.
Flashy.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other person we have here too. It's just Jahmyr Gibbs for the Lions. I think there's a whole Lions conversation here because I think part of this too, and talking about superstars, let's be real. Like if there's a world, like Super Bowls create stars, there's a world, like if the Lions were to win the Super Bowl, all these guys would rock it up. Because I think, maybe you guys stop me if this is hyperbole. I don't think it is. I think the Lions would be the most popular, like beloved Super Bowl team in the entire 21st century. Like the Detroit Lions winning the Super Bowl alone would be so fit. But with Dan Campbell and all these guys, and there's an element of like all these guys really would be so famous so quickly because, but to your point, Gibbs and Jameson Williams are the explosive ones on this team though.
Yeah. I think it's like I think that the Lions are a cool team because they cover like the whole spectrum of like styles. They have like like Craig was just saying, they've got like the lunch pail hard hat guys that come in, they're just like the Dan Campbell persona. And then they also have flashy, explosive, extremely dangerous like players on the field. Like these guys, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Jahmyr Gibbs is that guy's running back. Every time he carries the ball, I'm like, that guy looks like he was shot out of a cannon. He has incredible acceleration, like better acceleration than almost any running back I've ever seen. And he breaks tackles. Yeah, Gibbs.
What is that list real quick? Top running backs acceleration. I'm curious who's other.
I don't know. I'd have to think about that. Like obviously like LaDainian Tomlinson, if you go back,
Chris Johnson,
Jamal Charles, Chris Johnson.
He's kind of that's a good top 5.
Chris Johnson's like he's in that like area where it's like, if you like get a one step out of position, like you're liable to give up a 100-yard score.
Barry Sanders, obviously, for the Lions fans, just screaming right now.
Yeah, I mean Barry Sanders is like the gold standard for running backs like
He's
ever.
like Ashton Genty
yeah.
1.0. Yeah.
The only thing about Gibbs is I
sure.
feel like it's hard to reach superstar status when you share the backfield with somebody.
Sure.
Else.
That's the quibble is like David Montgomery's like maybe better though, and the Lions like him more in the moment.
Like
So I think
coach,
that's the
if the coach could give the ball to one running back, he might not choose Jahmyr Gibbs.
yeah.
Just depends on the situation. But
yeah,
yes, I totally understand what you're saying. It's like he's
Also,
the number 2 back.
Montgomery and Gibbs are known as peanut butter and jelly, and then it was like on like a pregame thing. They did a segment, and they clearly hate the nickname. And this week, David Montgomery unveiled. Actually, our nicknames are Sonic and Knuckles, and I'm Knuckles.
So
And they're just trying to nickname themselves because I think they are.
Are we going to
by
allow
peanut butter
this?
and jelly.
The Lions are the only
No.
team that can get away with it, I feel
And
like.
No, they don't get to nickname themselves.
in this analogy, David Montgomery was peanut butter, right?
No, they asked them which one to use which, and they looked at each other and they like realized in that moment you could see it on their faces. They're like, "Oh, we've never thought about that before."
But which would you rather be? Which is cooler? I feel like to me, David Montgomery's PB is peanut butter and Jameson and Jahmyr Gibbs is jelly, right?
I think so, but I don't think they
Yeah.
wanted to be jelly.
Yeah.
Like PB is like the glue. No, I know that. I was just like
PB is
thinking
the
about-
foundation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the glue that holds things together. Jelly's
Jelly's the flavor.
the sweet, the sugar.
The sweetness.
Sonic and Knuckles doesn't really roll off the tongue.
Sonic and Knuckles. Are Sonic and Knuckles famous enough?
I don't know anything about Knuckles. I know Sonic the
is
Hedgehog.
really famous.
Yeah.
Knuckles.
Who's Knuckles? No one knows who Knuckles is.
Craig
Yeah.
Reynolds could be the Knuckles in this situation. The
Craig-
next
Craig Reynolds.
third straight running back, maybe. That is why I like the Lions, though. He made a play in special teams last year, and then Dan Campbell put him in at the 1 just to give him a touchdown. I'm like, I like this freaking team. Number 7 here,
Yeah.
next gen of NFL superstars, Kenneth Walker, your running back for the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
Ken Walker,
I'm-
who's never been tackled in his entire life in a normal way.
Yeah, he's I'm willing this into existence, and also I think he's proving it. But like this is definitely just my bias corner right now. Because I've loved Kenneth Walker since really since I watched him at Michigan State. Like he was incredible. Right now, through 6 games, he's number 1 in the NFL in PFF rush grade. He's number 1 in missed tackles forced per attempt according to fantasy points. Number 1 in double backflips without hitting the ground during a run. Number 1 in my heart. He's number 4 in half PPR points per game. Half
Could have left that out.
That's like, just to throw it in there. He's also producing in fantasy, which is, of course, important to us. But like truly just one of my favorite players to watch. Every time I like get excited about him. This is like, he's in the pantheon of players where I remember going back to like when I was a kid, I would sit around and wait for Ken Griffey Jr. to be up during a game. I would watch Ken Griffey Jr.'s at bat. And then I'd be like, okay, I can go do other stuff till he comes up again. You know what I mean? Like I want every time Kenneth Walker's out there, I'm like, ooh, give him the ball. I want to see what he can do. That's the type of player he is because he's just so exciting, so elusive, so powerful. He runs with like a bow-legged gait that's like really unique. And I don't know. I just think he's finally sort of coming into his own. He's been giving an incredible amount of volume in the Seahawks offense. Seahawks offense is really fun. And most importantly, or not most importantly, but very importantly for fantasy, he's been really involved in the passing game this year. So he kind of feels like he's ascending to that next plane. If he can stay healthy and keep going where he's going, he's going to be a first-round pick next year.
Also, I would say one of the last really famous running backs was also on the Seahawks, Marshawn Lynch,
Yeah.
Kenneth Walker, I think, needs a good playoff run to cement himself.
Yes.
I think
Like
he
a
needs-
signature, like a beastquake play. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Yes. Like even Derrick Henry became Derrick Henry, I think, when he had like those 3 200-yard games in a row that like
Yeah.
went into the playoffs and each one was crazier than the last. Like you
Yeah.
need something a little epic.
The double flip play, even though his head technically maybe touched the ground, I feel like that is pretty big signature plays on primetime Monday Night Football. Pretty badass. So maybe but that's not enough. I agree.
Next one here, next generation NFL superstars, dude, Brock Bowers, the tight end for the Raiders.
His catchphrase is "I've seen enough." Like that in our text chain, he's just like so and so. I've seen enough. Like this guy, he's it.
Last night or Monday night, I saw Ray Davis. 2 carries out of Ray Davis. I was like, I'm good.
I've seen enough. He's
Yep.
good. Brock Bowers, I feel exactly the same way. I'm like, it's 6 games in. I've seen enough. This guy's the best. He's like one of the best tight ends.
Yeah. Matthew McConaughey walks in, gives me one line. I'm like, you're good, buddy. Don't need to see anything else.
Yeah. Right now he is the tight end 2 through 6 weeks behind only George Kittle. He is on pace, 17 game pace right now, 105 catches. That is how many catches Puka Nacua had last year. Set the rookie record for all time for any position receptions. That's what Brock Bowers is on pace for right now.
And tight end is disgustingly impossible for players to do as a rookie. There's a reason that like 2 players have had 1,000. Like it's not just 2 players hit 1,000 yards as a tight end as a rookie. It's like 8 have hit like 700. Like
Right.
it's impossible to do that. And then I actually think Brock Bowers is actually Kyle Pitts. Like Kyle
He's
Pitts.
who we wanted Pitts to be.
Yes, we all said Kyle Pitts best tight end prospect ever, and I'm not kidding you. I really think everyone was like draft analysts, maybe even us, we were too afraid to beat the drum of how good Brock Bowers was because it doesn't
100%.
hit that.
Yes.
It doesn't hit that hard to be like Brock Bowers best tight end prospect since Kyle Pitts. Remember when we said that guy'd be great? He sucks.
Yeah.
Like it just does. Yeah. You can't talk about it. And so we undersold how good Brock Bowers is. He's as good of a receiver as Pitts was, but he actually plays tight end. He blocks. I think there's no question he'll be the number 1 tight end like in IRL in the league next year. And then also I looked at firstly 4th in catches. I said Brock has the 2nd most catches for a rookie tight end through 6 games ever.
Can I push back? Can I push back a little bit? I think
Please.
he checks 2 of the 3 boxes. Obviously, fantasy and on the field, he's great. The superstar quality from Brock Bowers, I'm not sure is there. He's a shy, quiet guy. He's on a bad team. Travis Kelce at least had the Mahomes factor. Obviously, the Swift thing took him to another level, but like, you know, he had a little bit of a personality already, and he was on the best team in the league with the best quarterback ever. George Kittle also on a great team. Zany, interesting guy. He's got the long hair. Bowers needs to do something. He's not going to be on a good team for a while.
No, wrong. Other way around.
Okay. This is classic Heifetz. He always goes, it's actually the opposite.
Brock Bowers refusing to talk about anything is the brand.
No.
You know who didn't talk about? You know who wouldn't give answers in press conferences for years? Marshawn Lynch wouldn't speak to the media.
Just doesn't get fined
for years. And I know he doesn't have the charisma of Lynch, but Brock Bowers, I think it's actually incredible that like his teammates are like, yeah, I don't know anything about that guy. I've never spoken to him. Like he doesn't they're like, I smiled once. It was when Georgia beat Clemson. Like it's a brand. And like, I think it'll become like a thing when he's like the best player.
So you're saying he's like the Kawhi Leonard of
yes, he's Kawhi. They're like, it'll be a thing. Like, can we get Brock Bowers to say anything?
I think I think you're absolutely right. Like, it's fair to say he doesn't have much of a personality. I've heard him talk like one time. He has bad hair. We get it. Like,
dude, they asked him, "Do you want to fix his hair was a mess?" They're like, "Do you want to fix it for this interview?" He's like, "No."
He just loves ball so much.
I'm just saying, like, Kawhi Leonard beat LeBron James in the finals and has 2 finals MVPs. You know,
well, he stopped playing basketball. If he had kept playing basketball, that probably would have been better.
Well, hold on. What I was getting to though is I think Bowers has a distinctive enough name that his name value is going to give him a boost. Brock Bowers.
Yeah, that's good.
Just like if his name was like
Bowers,
Josh Smith, like
if his name was Chris Jones,
no one's gonna give a shit. But he's Brock Bowers. He also played for Georgia, you know, and that like playing for like the national title team and doing all that shit that he did.
I just wanted to push back a little bit. That's all.
No,
that's fair. That's fair.
No, you're right. I mean, it's good to bring up that the superstar doesn't speak. That's a good call. But no, I think Brock Bowers
doesn't speak.
He doesn't talk.
He's a silent actor, and we've moved on to the talkies.
Charlie fucking Chaplin's playing tight end out here.
Yeah.
Dude, we were at the combine. We were like, do you think we could get Brock Bowers to say anything? Anyway, DK. No, sorry, no, Craig, this is yours. The number 9, next generation of superstars. I put this one late because I didn't know what to do with this guy, and he's not like the first 8 names in this list. Brock Purdy, quarterback for the 49ers. I didn't know what to do with him because he's been playing
this
for
is
way
a take,
longer.
I feel like.
And
really? God, I think he's 100% the next generation of superstars. First of all, he's been to a Super Bowl in the first 2 years of his career. He's really good on a really good team, on a really famous team. In the last 2 seasons, Purdy is 2nd in passing yards, 4th in touchdowns, 1st in yards per attempt, 1st in success rate, 2nd in EPA per dropback, 1st in completions over 20 yards. And look, I know the whole narrative, oh, he's good because the team is good. I think this year he's been awesome despite his team, unlike last year. He also was the last pick in the draft. Everybody knows that. Like, my mom knows who Brock Purdy is because it was like the guy who was the last pick in the draft who's now awesome. He's playing better than Patrick Mahomes. And nobody wants to give him enough credit. You know, it's like we're all obsessed with the Shanahan. Oh, it's all Shanahan. And yet Jordan Love's in the Matt LaFleur system. No one wants to say that Jordan Love's only good because Matt LaFleur has a great system, but everybody will say that about Brock Purdy.
I wanted to start saying that after Malik Willis like lit it up for 2 weeks. Yeah.
I think this is a really good one, Craig. And you know why? I think
Brock Purdy is really famous.
And the other thing is also about how good he's going to be. And you're right that there's a brand there. And also Brock Purdy, frankly, the career arc is basically if Tom Brady hadn't Tom Brady had not won any Super Bowls in his first 3 or 4 seasons, where basically like there's a lot of like success. But basically, imagine if Brady had lost the Tuck Rule or something, or lost in the AFC Championship game, and everyone just dismisses it. Oh, he's a late round game manager on a really talented team. But Purdy is getting better every season. And like
what if Trevor Lawrence was doing what Purdy was doing right now?
Oh yeah, we'd be losing our minds.
We would be like anointing him as like the next Mahomes. You know,
the Niners have not been that good this year. They've been super banged up, and Purdy's been nails. And don't you feel like the team? I feel like Brock Purdy is the leader of this team now. Like it genuinely feels that way to me.
I think it also is 2 Brocks here, Brock Bowers, Brock Purdy, but also good name. No, I think you're right. Like he is the leader. Everyone believes it. At some point, also, I can't stress enough what you said about like he's playing the way we loved Patrick Mahomes playing football. Scrambling Chuck.
He's turned into this guy. He's like this annoying little shit that won't stop making good plays. You know what I mean?
You know, it's like Captain America when he wins you, or like Ted Lasso when they win you over and you feel like an idiot and you're like, he got me.
Yeah, it genuinely feels like it's his team now. Like he has stolen the spotlight away. He's on a team with Deebo Samuel, McCaffrey, Ayuk, and Kittle. And honestly, I kind of feel like Purdy is the most exciting player on this team.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Everyone loves an underdog story, Craig.
Yeah.
So we couldn't agree on the 10th spot, and we're actually just decided we're just going to argue about it right now. So who did you guys want to Craig, you go first. Is there anyone you wanted to nominate for this 10th spot, and we'll just figure out if we can fill out the 10th?
I don't know. I mean, like it's tough because rising means you got to be young, right? New NFL superstars. I was like, is DK Metcalf an NFL superstar? He wasn't on the first list.
I think he probably should have been in that earlier list. I think he's almost more famous than he is consistently good now. It's weird that he can't catch high at the catch point. That's my issue with him.
His arms are too big. Have you ever tried to lift your arms in a suit?
Yeah.
That's kind of like what DK Metcalf is.
It's true. He plays a little small.
His traps are just like in the way at this point. I would say no with DK just because anybody that like his own team is split on him, his own team's fan base is split on him, like can't be included in this. Half Seahawks fans want to trade DK Metcalf. So
the real one,
great rule. DK.
The real one's Marvin Harrison, right? I mean, it's an added boost that his father is extremely famous and he shares his name.
Yeah,
and he has been good. So
he's going to be on this list sooner than later, but I don't think you put him on right now. I think the same could be said for Bijan Robinson. It's like ludicrous that he's not on this list. I think
I can't think
of
how
many coaching staffs will decide to not play Bijan Robinson. More than 60% of the staffs.
Gibbs is on this list. Gibbs is on this list.
But he kind of shouldn't be though. I think Gibbs was. If anything, we should put Bijan and take Gibbs off. Can I give you my hottest take? I actually think David Montgomery should be on the list over Jahmyr Gibbs.
No,
he's been in the league for too long. He's on like the 7th year of his career.
You're wrong.
Okay, but you know who else wasn't actually famous for like the first 4 years of their career is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry wasn't even good the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, but
he was splitting with Deion Lewis. And I'm just saying, David Montgomery, like that meme of him, David Montgomery.
David Montgomery is not a superstar. I'm sorry.
Look,
I'm saying,
Heifetz, if you get an NFL fan to name 4 players on the Lions, there's a chance David Montgomery's not on that list.
I agree. That is true right now.
4 players on the offense.
There's a sex appeal that is included here. And that's why Gibbs is on the list and Montgomery is not.
The quarterback, the receiver, the tight end, 2 receivers, and probably Aiden Hutchinson are all probably named first before Dave Montgomery.
I agree. I'm not trying to say this is the state right now. I'm saying he is on pace for if he gets 20 touchdowns and the Lions win the Super Bowl, I actually think David Montgomery might leave as the most famous player on the team, on the offense.
No.
Like he's running. Who is
such an insane
right? I'm just saying right now.
No.
Who is more fun? I'm just saying this. How many running backs are more entertaining to watch right now than David Montgomery? He just has a boring name.
I think Jahmyr Gibbs is more entertaining to watch. There's a running back on his own team who's more entertaining to watch.
No, Montgomery, he doesn't go down. I think Montgomery's close to Marshall.
I love David Montgomery. He's just not a superstar at all.
I agree. He's an awesome player. Super. Seems like a great guy.
Super cool guy, not a superstar.
Super cool. Yeah.
You guys, you don't like peanut butter. It's fine. He's smooth and creamy.
I would say
my son's allergic to peanut butter. We don't have peanut butter in the house. So
who else?
Dudes like Olave and Drake London are not there.
No.
Nope.
Drake London. You can't. Being a star on the Falcons is impossible.
It is.
A couple other guys I want to throw out that I think will be on this list that are just not because they're hurt right now. Rasheed Rice.
Yeah.
And Puka Nacua.
I don't think Rice will be a star.
I think he will be.
He's just like I don't know. I think he's more famous for like car accidents than anything else, frankly.
But he's got that like he's a little fucking crazy, and people like that. And he's on a team with, like it does. Like he's a little edgy, I think George Pickens, if they ever get a quarterback, is going to be on this list if the Steelers ever get a quarterback, because again, maybe Jeremy's a little fucking crazy, And
Pickens is probably more known than he should be.
I was going to say
Right.
Pickens is the greatest. He's better than the greatest receiver in the history of the NFL if the field was 55 yards long.
Yeah. Damn.
And then I think Trey McBride probably should be on this, but he's just not exciting enough.
Like Jaden Reed, I don't think is there.
I like Jaden Reed a lot. They spread the ball around too much, but I think Jaden Reed's going to score 11 touchdowns a year for the Packers for 7 years in a row. And he's the best player on the team, but he won't get.
I'm happy to do it next year. I'm happy to induct him next year.
I love Jaden Reed.
And then the player that it's obligatory to mention, and if he can get healthy and Tua can come back, like Devonte Adams, if he can like start doing what he was doing early in the season, I think he could elevate to that level.
I do think
he's been a little disappointing the last couple of weeks, though. It feels like he's playing hurt.
A-Chain hurts him. The name A-Chain hurts.
Yeah, it does. It's hard
If
to
it
say.
was honestly, everyone will say A-Chain. They might just be uninterested after that, hearing it's A-Chain.
You should do the Jalen
He
Waddle.
changed
His
it.
name's Waddell,
Yeah.
and he should do it just stage name A-Chain, and it's A-Chain, the A-Train, and it's right there. I don't know what he's thinking.
Do you guys think Kyron Williams is just a flash
Zero
in the
chance.
pan? Just a flash in the pan?
Zero chance he'll be like a superstar.
Yeah.
IMO.
Zero chance.
We haven't.
Okay.
The only guy's name who we haven't mentioned, who's like kind of living between the current superstar and the next gen superstar, is Jonathan Taylor. He's like kind of in both because he was awesome and then he got hurt and then he held out and now he's back and he's hurt again. But he's like, was the #1 pick in fantasy 2 years ago.
His career has peaked. He was on the cover of all the fantasy football magazines.
But is he
like 2
not a
years
current
ago.
superstar?
No.
But he's also not a next gen superstar.
If he was in a Gillette commercial, how many people would know who that person is without putting the little name up?
Yeah, I don't know.
So he has a boring name.
He's 25 years
boring.
old. So he's neither. He is
So
neither.
Leo DiCaprio wouldn't even date him. No, he's not a superstar.
He's not a superstar and he's not a next gen superstar.
You would not buy a razor because Jonathan Taylor shaves with it. Like no chance.
He's just like in that purgatory, Craig. He's
I'm
kind of
not
stuck in
buying
between.
a razor because AJ Brown shaves with it.
Some people are.
Craig, this is how marketing works. This is how advertising
That's
works.
how
I
advertising. By the
guess.
way, you
I'm
know the
not buying a
Oreo. You know the
razor 'cause
Oreo
Alvin
Coke.
Kamara.
You guys know the Oreo flavored Coke is on our show now.
Is it?
Yes,
Nice.
we got multiple emails.
Ads
about it.
are?
Oh, that's how advertising works.
But not. We
Hell
didn't do
yeah.
those reads. These were like span reads, right? Yeah.
No, yeah.
They were outside host read reads. Yeah. That's cool though. We should
Yeah,
just start.
so
I feel like everything we say becomes an ad. We have great power.
Yeah. That's how advertising works. All right, speaking of great power, it's time for Fantasy Court.
Yeah. Definitely don't tell anyone about this thing that you're doing.
I don't really want to be handcuffed.
The definition of an object is a material thing that can be seen and touched. The object thing, that was about a cloud, right?
I'm not sure.
Definition of an Craig is reading the definition of an object.
I believe we were trying to determine if a cloud was an object.
God,
Important
that's good.
stuff.
That's incredible. That whole thing. All right, Fantasy Court. We have a court case here. The defendant is Sam.
Sammy.
Welcome, Sam.
Sam says, after last week's games began, we realized that two opponents who were playing each other were both starting defenses that were on a bye.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Chiefs and the Vikings. They're both on a bye. And Sam says that they did this so they would not have to drop a player to fill that roster spot out. And when we called them out in the group chat, they admitted that they did discuss it before the weekend.
Oh.
And one of the guys, Zach, sucks this year.
Interesting.
Zach, I guess, listens to the show too. Sam says you suck, Zach. And so Zach's team sucks, but the other guy is firmly in the playoff hunt and was able to maintain some of his depth because of this collusion. Besides shaming them, how should we handle this situation? I think it was. I just would like to point out one thing to start here. This case quite literally is the defense rests.
Very good. Very good.
That's a really good pun. Yeah.
And number two, this is literally the Curb Your Enthusiasm Larry David in line to vote and grabs the guy who's voting for the other guy and is like, you want to get out of here?
Just cancel each other out. Yeah.
They're just like, oh, you got a D, you're gonna have to add a D, and then I'll have to add a D. Like, what if no one votes? Like you just leave.
You pair up and leave.
Just pair up.
I'm torn on this. I think because I'm thinking like, so, you know how people will split the pot in fantasy like playoffs or whatever, if they're both in the championship and it's like coming down to
Yeah,
Monday Night
if they're
Football and they're
cowards.
like,
Yeah.
well, whatever. But like it's like a part of the game. People do that. And it's not necessarily frowned upon. Is there any difference between that and this?
I think this.
I mean,
Yeah,
there is
that's
slight
strategic.
difference.
Yeah, that's benching a D to win. Yeah, lock up a win is different. Yeah,
But
I think it's not the same.
well, you're not benching a D to lock up a win because you're not.
DK, well, DK is saying if you have like you're a 3-point lead, you bench your defense so that it doesn't get like -5, and that's what you're saying, right, DK? Or
No, I'm saying people deciding to split the pot before the week is over.
Like regardless who wins the championship game, we will split the pot in fantasy.
Right.
People do that sometimes.
And so this is like them saying, "Look, I'm not going to drop this guy. You're not going to drop your guy. We'll go and just like our skill guys together will like determine the outcome." It's different, but it's in the same family, I guess.
I tend to think this is okay, to be honest. And
I think this is hilarious.
Yeah, this is kind of just like savvy gamesmanship. This is like Dan Lanning on the Oregon coach having 12 guys on the field to get the penalty and lose the time. I'm kind of like, this is kind of like within the rules, I think. And
It's pretty creative.
It's pretty creative. No one's getting an advantage. You could also make the case that even if they didn't collude, they would have done this anyway, or like one would have done it anyway. I have seen teams before sit or not play a defense because they don't want to drop somebody. Like, you're playing for the season, not for the week. I kind of think this is okay.
But you're putting other teams at a disadvantage because they're allowing each other to keep those players instead of drop them.
But like, I guess the thing is like the word I don't like in this is they're like it's collusion, and like the thing I don't like is like collusion is when there's something like bad faith is essential to collusion. This is very much both people are doing what's in best interest of their team, and also it's like you're not breaking any rules. You're just like playing a guy. I don't know. I think it's funny and creative. I think it's actually it really is just Larry David grabbing someone in line, like we're both gonna stand here.
It is kind of funny.
Votes out.
When you at the end of the day, neither of them are actually doing anything.
No.
Yeah. Inaction cannot be
literally
collusion.
Not doing a thing. Man, I don't know. I'm really torn on this. You guys both think it's okay, so my vote probably doesn't matter anyway.
When like an NBA team rests their starters and then the other team finds out and they're like, well, then I guess we'll rest our starters too.
Yeah.
That's fine. It sucks for the fans.
Yeah, it sucks for the fans. There you go. There's your answer, Sam. It sucks for the fans. Oh my God.
I think this is okay.
I love that. All right. Couple other emails here.
Yeah. We have any more fantasy courts or just that one?
We have other fantasy courts here. We got one from Don.
Johnny.
Hobbled Herbert.
That Don?
Don says I need a ruling.
Hobbled Herbert.
You
just put that in my head for another whole
Hobbled
week.
Herbert.
Someone emailed us
sad.
and they had done something and they were like, I don't know, they like texted their wife at like 2 a.m. about something they thought they were gonna forget.
Wait, back up. What's going on? Who texted who?
Someone emailed us and they were like, I don't know. I forget the story. It was something like they texted their wife at 2 a.m. because they like thought they were gonna. And she woke up. She was like, "Why did you send me that text?" And he was like, "Oh, don't worry about it. I was just being a nervous and." And it just came out. Now I'm like, damn, nervous. Anyway,
Donnie.
I picked up and dropped the defense on Yahoo, and I did not think anything of it until late afternoon on Sunday when I saw that the defense I had added actually was on my bench and my defense slot was empty. Mm-hmm. And so I notified notified the commissioner as soon as I noticed. He refused to address the issue. My argument was that my intent was clear and obvious in what I was attempting. I eventually lost the game by 1 point. The defense I added scored 16 points.
God. That's tough.
Like a ruling.
Unfortunately, I think this is just tough. This is a tough lesson to learn, and you won't do that again.
I agree.
Yeah, I think this is wholly up to the discretion. We punt this down to the lower courts. This is up to the discretion of the commissioner. I would have allowed it. This is like the replay thing, overturning versus whatever. Like I would have allowed this if the commissioner decided to let you play that defense. I think that's fine too.
Sometimes you got to learn the lesson. Let the kid smoke the whole pack of cigarettes.
I think that this is I agree, Craig. I think this is the flip side of when we're like, I mean, anytime we've ever gotten an email basically about like this trade's unfair, can we veto it? And I'm like, the Miami Dolphins were not consulted by Roger Goodell if the Jets should be allowed to acquire Devonte Adams or if the Bills should be allowed to acquire Amari Cooper. It's like there's been one veto in real life in our entire life, and there's way more stakes on pro sports. Why do you think you get to vote on other people's teams? Like, because basically it's like you run your own team, you have the freedom to make mistakes. And the flip side of this is you have the freedom to make mistakes. You run your own team, you're in charge of it. You didn't set your fucking lineup. I'm sorry. Like, no offense.
I agree.
But no chance.
I agree.
All right. We have
Nervous.
We had an email from Josh.
Josh.
Hey,
Another Josh. We're like 3 for 3 and Josh.
Yeah, I know, a lot of Joshes. Basically someone offered him Evan Ingram and Ramondre Stevenson for Travis Etienne like 2 weeks ago, and he never declined the offer, and he looked up
one of those
on Tuesday and he realized it was still there and he accepted it, and he wants to know, 1, am I a scumbag? And 2, should it stand? Which I like that they're separate questions.
I wish we had like a running list of how we've ruled in the past on these, like the
I know.
precedent.
I feel like we change our tune every month. The answer to the first question is unequivocally yes. You are a scumbag.
Yeah.
But you got to be. You know what? You
But
got to
also, he's a scumbag, but also I think it should stand.
Right.
I know.
Like, because the implication, the alternative, we got a lot of emails this week about basically, like, I'm talking like 20 emails this week that were like some version of this trade was proposed, and then the person who proposed it was like, I didn't want to propose that. And I think the flip side of like,
what?
I know they're like, oh, I regret proposing that. That should be not for whatever reason.
Yeah,
buyer's remorse. To which the answer is the alternative is to suggest that you are incapable of controlling your trade proposals.
Yeah, I do think it's hard because I think naturally when you propose a trade and it's not accepted within 3 days, it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind, especially when like another Sunday goes by, there's a new week. It's just not something you think about. The commissioner should change the rules where a trade only lasts for like 5 days or whatever. I also think there's something interesting here about injuries. Like Travis Etienne is hurt now. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, he literally will miss week to week. So actually, you know what? On that case, maybe it should probably not stand because he's week to week. That is
because if it was a trade for Rashee Rice before Rashee Rice got hurt and then a week went by and then you accepted it to get rid of Rashee Rice, we wouldn't allow that.
I agree with that. I actually agree. Yeah, that trade should be vetoed. I agree with that because you're right that like a player getting hurt does change it.
Yeah. Also,
that's because that's bad faith. You literally just saw the injury first and took it.
Right. Big news, guys. Nervous Narvison cut.
No, nervous Narvison. He's so nervous now.
Imagine how nervous he was in the coach's office.
A little nervous Narvison.
Man.
Bummer. All right. That's sad. R.I.P.
Yeah. R.I.P.
R.I.P. A couple other emails here before we get out of here.
Yeah.
We're going to do one on 6 degrees of separation. Do you guys want one on tell us about the War Grandpa about selling out?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. This is from Tom.
Thomas.
I'm 34. Tom. I'm 34 years old. Sometimes I feel like I'm right between Heifetz and Craig and DK in terms of generation. But easily the biggest you guys are talking about like selling out. Tom says the biggest sellout controversy was when Metallica made their 1991 smash hit, the Black Album, and Metallica sold out because they made an album a lot of people liked, and that's it. And they were called sellouts, and they didn't make another 80s thrash metal album, but instead they made a mainstream album, and a lot of people liked it. So they were demonized by their fans for selling out, which is a concept I'm sure is completely foreign to Craig Heifetz and all of music today.
It's a good example of like fans gatekeeping their shit and not wanting anybody else to listen to it.
I have no knowledge of this. DK, do you know what this is? I don't know that Metallica getting backlash for the Black Album.
I don't think I knew. I'm not like a Metallica guy. I didn't know like that specific thing, but that is 100% a thing that happens a lot where like if a band changes their sound from one album to the next, everyone's like, you fucking sold out. You just wanted to get your shit on the radio. You know, like,
yeah,
it's a thing. What's the core of that?
What's the core of it? I think that the certain segment of fans that really like the old stuff wanted all the new stuff to stay sounding like the old stuff. And then you get bands that are wanting to appeal to a broader audience, obviously, and make more money and go on and get your songs on the radio, blah, blah, blah. And they have to, and songs that go on the radio have to fit like this certain structure and sound and not have swearing and not have like really long, you know, interludes in the middle or whatever. Like they're all like 3 minutes long and have a certain structure. And so I think people view that as like selling out and it like ruins the product.
That's an interesting point. Eyes. Also, sorry, we have to take a break here for Diet Coke Oreos. Shout out.
It's like the product placement. Oh, getting played off. It's like the product placement in Wayne's World. I think it might be Wayne's World too, when they're eating like the pizza and they have like the Pepsi, all the Pepsi swag. Love that. I'll wear whatever.
All right, last email here. This is from Craig.
Craig.
You
don't hear a lot of Craigs out there.
Not a lot of Craigs. So in the last episode, we were joking about 6 degrees. Some people emailed us who knew Land Clark, and we were joking. Craig, you joked that we could make 6 degrees of separation with like anyone, Land Clark or Gannon Burr.
I was going to see like who's the most obscure famous person we could get to.
And I said it's probably Kim Jong-un.
Right. Oh God.
Right? Like, Craig points out.
Does he listen to the show?
Well,
is he a fan?
Yeah. So Kim. Yeah, this is actually from Kim Jong. Craig. No. So. But we had said Kim Jong-un's probably one of the harder people to play 6 degrees of separation with, or Kevin Bacon.
Do they have podcasts in North Korea?
Well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you guys something.
Okay.
First of all, just before I say, if are we the first or are we zero? Like in the 6 degree, are we the first degree? Like, am I the first degree in the connection, or am I zero?
It's a great question. That's why I had trouble with the Kevin Bacon thing.
Like me to you, that's 1, right?
Like
I know you, so that's 1.
It's 1, but like Heifetz, my connection to your dad is 2.
Yes, because you know me, and then I know my dad.
I'm 2 degrees of separation from your dad.
Okay, so then I have really big news. I'm going to count to get this right.
Okay.
Craig emailed us to point out, we are 3 degrees separated from Kim Jong-un.
Which means there's just 2 people between us and Kim Jong-un.
Yes. There is a very, very easy 2-degree connection between us and Kim Jong-un.
Well,
like Dennis Rodman?
Yes. Dennis Rodman was Kim Jong-un, and Craig produced Flying Coach with Steve Kerr, who played with Dennis Rodman. We are 3 degrees away from Kim Jong-un.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we're talking.
3 degrees from Kim Jong-un.
That was so easy. That took
it was so easy.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like Bill Simmons is easy too, because it's like anyone Bill's had on his pod.
Yeah.
That's 1 degree.
Bill
right
had
there.
Obama on his pod.
Right.
That's another one.
My first thought was like, this is got to be somebody in Sony with like that whole like.
Oh my! I don't know if they met face to face, but isn't that? I don't know. So anyway, the Ringer Fantasy Football Show, 3 degrees of separation.
Okay, well then give us somebody harder to get to at this point.
Ugh.
That's famous.
That's pretty tough.
Yeah, like who's like a super famous hermit?
Brock
that doesn't
Bowers.
have any friends.
Brock Bowers. Anyone who's ever met Brock Bowers?
Anyway.
All right. Yeah. Emails at Ringer Fantasy Football.
Think on Hawk to a girl.
Yeah. Emails at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com if you can get us in touch with Haley Welch. We did go on her
Good
show.
for you. Good for you.
He's into podcasting. We're into podcasting. I feel like there's got to be some common ground there.
All right. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Ringer Fantasy Football, and of course subscribe to Ringer NFL YouTube channel.
And vote on that thing.
To Instagram Ringer Fantasy Football. Follow that thing. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, DK. Thank you, Carlos and Kai, for producing this episode. Thank you, Richter. Thank you, Austin. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Kiera. Thank you, everyone. It takes so many people to do this, but most of all, thank you, Lauren.
Thank you, Metallica, for selling out. Love it.
Also, thank you, Sean, for coming on the show. Yeah, Metallica. So people really were mad at Metallica.
I don't know. Again, I'm not a Metallica guy. We'd have to ask Maze because he's big on Metallica.
What I don't know is like, did people care that like there was a Coca-Cola in E.T.? Did that matter?
It's
Somebody
tasteful,
did.
Craig.
Somebody did, Craig.
Yeah. Pepsi cared.
Have you ever been on the internet?
Well, there was no internet.
Yeah, people kept that shit to themselves. They forgot about it.
Like,
Someone just said, "Oh, they sold out to Coca-Cola," and then
they talked to each other about how they hated it.
I just wonder if that was criticized in the reviews of the movie. If Ebert was like, the Coca-Cola thing,
just crass,
a little cringy. Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. Hit us up if you saw E.T. in the theater and then saw the Coca-Cola can and were upset.
Also, I like the idea of like, what is the most annoying or worst product placement of all time in a movie?
Oh, that's a great email at Ringer Fantasy Football.
The funniest accidental one was the Starbucks in the Game of Thrones episode.
That is the worst thing ever. That's like the most like, that really was when I realized, oh, no one gives a shit about
they're fucking mailing it in.
Everyone's checked out on this goddamn show.
They're just so tired. They're just like, I want to do something else so bad.
Yeah.
Dinklage was like, I'm so tired. I need to drink my Starbucks during the scene.
I think the funniest is just the concept of Will Ferrell pitching Ricky Bobby, and they're like, we'll fund the entire movie just because like the entire movie will be product placement like NASCAR's. Like Fig Newton's on the windshield.
If you don't chew Big Red, then fuck you.
Goodbye, everyone.